Welcome to Budget in Focus. I am Stacey Carmichael and I'm joined by Minister of Finance, Winston Jordan. And welcome to Budget in Focus.
Thank you.
Now, before we get into the meat of the matter, just some general thoughts about Budget 2018 and what are some of the thoughts that went into the preparation of the budget?
Well, going into Budget 2018, we had already indicated that there were some difficulties in 2017, particularly as related to sugar. As you can see from the numbers, sugar did bring down our growth rate significantly. And going into 2018, we had to find a way how to stem this, essentially. Unfortunately, we're not necessarily going to be stemming it because sugar is going to do probably its worst since, I don't even know, at 115,000 tons, you could say that the industry has virtually collapsed. But we expect in 2018 that a number of sectors will step up. We should be able to achieve the growth rate that we set, and hopefully if everything goes well, we maybe even surpass the target that we have set. We have tried to be a bit conservative, as with any estimates, but generally this budget has been pretty good. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. It's a people's budget in truth because there's something in there for virtually everyone, and I'm particularly pleased that lots of members in the private sector, particularly those who are on vacation or travel allowance, as they used to call it, and so on, and those people who work for small periods, you know, are going to get additional income to take home.
Now we know that the consideration of the estimates is currently ongoing in National Assembly. What are your reactions to the nature of the scrutiny in terms of the opposition's participation?
The opposition is there to oppose and depose. And their scrutiny has to be searching, otherwise they'll be failing in their duty. I don't see anything virtually wrong with what they're doing. It is for our officers to defend the budget and to defend their budgets and their constituencies' budgets, so that people out there know what the government is doing for them. And in many ways, the opposition is really helping the government, because searching questions should be able to elicit searching answers and facts, and therefore the people out there will be the better judge. So I don't see anything wrong with what they're doing, really. Okay,
just a recap of the performance of the financial sector in 2017 and briefly some projections for 2018.
The financial sector has been doing pretty okay. The one blind spot or black mark is the increase in the number of performing loans. But for example, our reserves are pretty much on target, better than when we came into power in 2015. They're equivalent to roughly 3.5 months of import cover. Our deficit is in line with the target. The private sector borrowing is increasing, and net domestic credit is improving. So I think the economy, even without oil, is poised for a takeoff, essentially. And hopefully 2018 should be one of the watershed years for us.
And as you mentioned oil and gas, how do you think, briefly, how do you think the sector will perform once everything goes on stream, everything is put in place? Because a lot of people, as you know, are looking forward to that sector.
Well, we need to look forward with the tempered expectations, really, because the sector is not going to take off as soon as it starts pumping oil. So we won't be getting all the money, so to speak. There will going to be a gradual build-up until they reach maybe a climax in terms of their daily output barrels per day. And we are seeing prices of oil trending upwards, which is good and bad news, right? Good news in that if it stays that way, then we could expect even higher royalties. Bad news in the sense that we are oil importer. And even when we find oil, we'll still be importing oil. And so that will affect our balance of payments negatively. But overall, we have an opportunity here to use a fantastic sum of money to do the things that we said we wanted to do all these years, which is to diversify the economy with heavy emphasis on the agricultural sector and agro-industrial activities. And once we could have natural gas, hydropower, we could have some element of cheap power, which can make a number of our exports competitive, because power is a big issue right now, both in terms of output and reliability. So once we can have natural gas going, some hydropower going solar, and so on, we should get a good energy mix that will be competitive, cheap, and therefore we can go into medium to high industries.
Thank you. Now, just to steer off a little bit from the topic of the budget, there are some concerns about the 10 million US dollars being paid to lawyers by the CGX. This was under the previous administration. What are some of your thoughts about this, and what in terms of that money being paid directly by
the I say kudos to CGX if they did. Well, actually, we heard that they paid 10 million US. I say kudos. I think Guyana is grateful. We're not a rich nation. We came up with against a reasonably aggressive neighbor, and they helped us out when help is needed. But I think the concern here is with the statements I think Mr. Jaglio made either today or yesterday, and which have been reported on a number of other media, which is trying to equate the monies that they receive from CGX. Or no, he's saying that you can't equate both. And his argument is because CGX paid the money directly to the lawyers. Well, I hope he's misquoted, because if he wasn't, then it will show an ignorance of how accounting is done in a country. Regardless whether you receive the money or not, let's backtrack a bit. CGX might have been an interested party in the arbitration, but they were not a direct party. They might have been thrown out of the waters. It could have been any other investor who was there at the time who would have been thrown out. And of course they had an interest. But the reality is Suriname and Guyana went to the arbitration, and therefore if lawyers were paid, it means they were paid to do the business of Guyana, which means that Guyana received 10 million US, and they used it to pay lawyers to prosecute their case in the court. So that 10 million, regardless whether it was paid directly to Guyana or paid directly to the lawyers, has to come into the accounts of the government. That was never done, because there's no way they can show us what we call a dummy transaction, where the money actually came in and reflected on the inflows of foreign inflows, and went out back as reflected in, say, our current expenditure on the other services purchase, which means consultancy services. So our accounts would have been 10 million poorer. And contrary to what he's saying, the accounts for those years would have been understated by 10 million US dollars. Compare this with what we did with the 18 million. The 18 million is in a special account at Bank of Guyana. It's there because it's designed for a special purpose. Whenever that special purpose is activated, the monies will go into the consolidated fund. It will first go to the consolidated fund. We will come to the parliament here and get a supplementary budget to pay whoever we have to pay, whether it's lawyers, map drawers, researchers, whatever, by way of consultancy services. So it will come back out, pass out back through our estimates, okay? So when the money is going into the consolidated fund, the actual foreign currency will be sold to Bank of Guyana. That will increase the Bank of Guyana's reserves immediately. And Bank of Guyana will credit our consolidated fund with the equivalent in Guyana dollars. At the same time, we will come to Parliament for the identical sum, so that it will pass out back. You see? And that money then will be used to purchase back foreign currency, to pay the lawyers, pay the researchers, and whatnot. Completely different. Ours will be highlighted in our accounts. In the case of the CGX, it never entered our accounts. Regardless whether it was paid directly to Guyana or not, it has to come into accounts, because it's money given to Guyana, regardless whether you receive it in your hands or whether it was paid on your behalf. Because think about it, if you didn't get the 10 million, then Guyana would have to find $10 million to pay the lawyers, and Guyana would have been 10 million poorer. But instead we were 10 million richer, because we didn't have to go into our reserves to find money to pay the lawyers. So I will want to tell Mr. Jaglio, he has to be careful when he's talking about the accounts of Guyana.
Some final thoughts on Budget 2018.
Budget 2018, I'm so happy because, as you know, 2017 We had some pushback with some measures. I didn't feel any way about 2017. I thought it was one of the better budgets that we ever produced in this country, from the standpoint that it attacked the rut that was taking place in revenue collection, both from the standpoint of tax reform and tax administration. And some people said I was extremely bold to bring all those measures at one time. But if I had done it in piecemeal, I would have got more pushback. If you try to bring measures over a 5-year period, everybody and say, oh, you're doing is taxing every year. I did it one shot and take whatever flack, as we call it, or criticism that would have come. But I think we have done quite well. We've listened to people. We are not an uncaring government. And in the case of education, we have removed the tax on private tuition. At a personal level, it was a cabinet decision, and I go with cabinet decision. But I maintain at a personal level, this tax could have worked if only we targeted those people who should be paying the tax. You know, it has nothing to do with whether the school is not paying taxes and so on. This was clearly a measure designed to broaden the tax base. Okay? And if your son is driving a Ferrari going to a private school, I don't see why you can't pay a 14% VAT. If the argument is that there are a number of poor people who struggle to get the fees to pay, we could have dealt with that. And we could have dealt with it in simple ways. You file a tax return, we know what income you're getting, and we'll give you a rebate on the VAT or give you a remission of the VAT. But to say everybody, regardless of whether you're rich or poor, should benefit from this service, is, I don't think it's an equitable situation. You know, and indeed the route that we have gone in a number of other taxes, while it supposedly benefits the poor, it also benefits the rich. I mean, free education in Guyana, for example, benefits both rich and poor. You know, you have ambassadors coming here, they send their children to bishops, QC, they're educated free. Well, I'm sure they're willing to pay. But that's the nature of some of these matters. So very often you don't want to fight a fight that you're actually going to lose to the court of public opinion. So I think we made the wise choice and decision to roll back that tax. But one good thing about this budget is that we have drawn in a number of non-traditional players. There were being complaints that we seem to be traditionalists. We invite the same set of people every year. We get the same set of requests for concessions and waivers and so on. But there are a large number of people out there. You know, it's like workers who are non-unionized. They don't get any assistance, but they have a voice and they're not being heard. So with these people, I invited a whole set of young people, and it's fantastic. The ideas that they had is tremendous. They insisted that they're not coming to me for any concession. They're coming to me so I could listen to them, hear what they have in mind, put up schemes where they can benefit from, you know. And so we listen to them. We put $100 million in the small business fund. We up the Sustainable Livelihood and Entrepreneurial Development Fund to $150 million. We increased the Youth Innovation Fund, you know. So all of these are intended for youth, disadvantaged people, people at risk, and so on. And I would like to engage these people more during next year and the coming years, because for me, I think not only that they represent the future, but they have ideas which I feel we can exploit, essentially. I'm not taking any credit away from the traditional private sector, but I think I like dealing with the young people.
You mentioned the small business. In terms of business investment, do you think enough investments are coming into Guyana, and do you project that better will come 2018? Well,
first thing let's say about investments. As I said in the wrap-up to the budget speech, we will much prefer 1,000 small businesses employing 5 people each. That's 5,000 people employed. Then your one-off, big, huge investment that employs 100 people. The big, huge investment is good for, you know, trappings and so on. But it does not much for you in terms of employment. And I think if you go around the country, I think you guys have been doing that, you'll see a number of people, small businesses, making all kinds of products. And I think the next step is for us to harness this product. Years ago, we had a GMC, a Guyana Marketing Corporation, that used to buy farmers' produce and resell, that used to engage in value-added manufacturing, smoked ham, bacon, and all these things that used to be done by the then Guyana Marketing Corporation. So we need to harness all these small businesses, right? Find outlets for them, markets, and so on. And we at the government level, for example, have to lead by example. So whatever you have to buy at the governmental level, you seek out local force. And only when you cannot find local, you look for alternatives. You know, and I spoke about water. I mean, it has to be the height of absurdity that all kinds of water could come into Guyana and find buyers and leave our water behind, not knowing that the people who are making this water are employing people. So sooner or later you're going to hear they have to fire workers because sales have dropped and so on. I think we need to show that level of patriotism that you can find throughout the CARICOM region. And as much as people who shout CARICOM and so on, and a lot of countries you go, is their people force and subsequently afterwards. And where I find that we don't use our own is that if you go anywhere in the Caribbean, outside of a little rum and maybe one or two other products, you hardly see anything made in Guyana. Hardly. You won't see a Banks beer in Trinidad. You know, you won't see, you may find DDL rum at the duty free shop and so on. But that's about it, essentially. So we are exporting jobs, we're exporting income, and we are failing as a people to take advantage of what we have here. If people want to invest in juices, even if they start with the old plastic bag, and then we could refine it and so on. At least it will be healthy, nutritious, and the money will be staying at home. Instead of buying a bunch of box juices that having preservatives to keep it, you know, we don't need, in this little country with this small population, rich agricultural land, driving initiative of our people, we don't need to be fooling around with all of these imports that we have. And at the end of the day, people will come around, I hope, so that more jobs can be created here. Every time we speak investment, we're looking for that big one-off investment. You know, we're looking for a big OMI or a big Guyana Goldfields or, you know, or a big something else. These things are fine, okay, but they do not imply many people. I'm looking for a big agri project, a plantation type project, maybe to replace, say, sugar, right? So somebody could come here, plant coffee, right? Amy's Coffee, I understand, has scored a hit. Everybody wants Amy's Coffee, small scale. Now people can come in, large scale. You know, we have coconut oil. All these things we have, you know, but I don't know why we don't love ourselves and love our products. But I am pushing the government to be in the forefront of this. We're not banning anything. If we're going to restrict something, we're going to restrict it on health, safety, and of course, unfair competition, as in the case of pine wood that we have restricted. But we're not going to be banning anything. But we are going to speak to people's patriotism and lead by example so that the manufacturing sector and small businesses can break through, make a final breakthrough, rather than have to compete with all these imports that we have been doing.
Minister Jordan, there has been a little bit of talk about, from the opposition of course, about the time allotted for them to speak or for them to scrutinize certain sectors and departments. What is your take on that? Do you think it's sufficient?
Yeah, I think it's sufficient time, and the argument is so totally unfair. Look, the standing order say that up to 7 days can be given for consideration of the estimates. The business of the parliament starts at 2 o'clock and ends at 10. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that's 8 hours. So 7 times, and you go for 7 days, that's 7 times 8, 56 hours. In the business committee, there was agreement, 5 days, starts at 10, ends at 10. So 5 times 12 is 60. So they're getting 60 hours. 60 hours you're getting in this scenario versus 56 hours in the other scenario. So, and if so, then when you look at it that way, they have not lost any time for scrutiny estimates. I think what the Speaker has done now is to enforce the standing orders. Because in the past, one person will ask a question, then come back with a follow-up, then another person gets up, asks more or less the same question, 3 more follow-ups, and it keeps going and going and going. And before you know it, it's past 10 o'clock, and you're now gone on the discretion. The Prime Minister has to rise and ask that the Parliament continue for another hour, another 2, or until it completes its business. Now, we're ministers, and most of us has to go to work and come back to Parliament. I don't know about members of the opposition. I don't know if they work or anything. But this is when you have to stay 11 and 12 o'clock, come back the next day, go into work, come back the next day, and you have to do this for 2 consecutive weeks. It takes a toll. So I think the Speaker has finally gotten around to enforcing the standing orders as were laid out. And I think this is what might have caught them by surprise or off guard and caused all the ruckus that took place on Monday, which, by the way, I abhor tremendously. It made me sad as a young parliamentarian, because first time I'm in Parliament, sitting on as an MP, and it is not something that I believe most people will want to embrace. And I don't think we have won too many friends and too many converts into becoming politicians or whatever with that kind of behavior. I felt very sad and ashamed to be a part of an assembly that could degenerate into such.
And as we're speaking on that topic, Minister, do you think, from your knowledge, the Speaker's decision was just? Because there's been a lot of talk about that.
Well, whether the Speaker's decision is just or unjust, it's like either in Cabinet, whether you like the decision or not, you have a choice. Cabinet is a collective, so you abide by the decision or you resign. The Speaker is the person in charge. His word is it. His ruling is it. You may go to a judge and you may not like the ruling. What can you do about it? You certainly can't go pelting a glass at him or something. Is the Speaker's word in the House is the final. And we can show our dissent in different ways rather than the thing, but certainly not in the House. You can get up and go outside, speak to your reporters if you want, but not in the House in the manner that was done. Some of us don't like some of the rulings of the Speaker, but certainly we will not behave in that fashion. You win some, you lose some.
So, Minister, what were some of the challenges you had in preparation for Budget 2018 that was presented last month?
Yeah, well, it's very challenging because it's still new to Guyana, certainly this generation. This is the second one that we produced in November, and it takes a toll on us. For one, our ministry is very short of staff, and the few that we have are being picked off by even our own agency, government agencies. And so when we ask in an exit interview why they're leaving, they say the hours are too long, the work is too intense, and the pay is too poor. And I went to Cabinet and the President and asked that our ministry be made. Years ago we used to call it closed ministry, so that we can pay people a little bit better and attract some of the best and brightest, because we do need those skills. Not too many people who call themselves economists can work at the ministry. So we have to deal with what we have, extremely short staff. So I've been putting my staff under some tremendous pressure. But they stood up. They stood up exceptionally well, even the younger ones, and we were able, for the second time, to produce a budget well ahead of time. And I'm hoping that 2018, 2019, we will do the same for the last 2 budgets that we will be accounting for in our 4th term. Maybe next time around you come and see how intense the work is there. And sometimes I get very upset when you come to Parliament and you hear in the debates something that was said by the member, Priya Manik-Chan, that she didn't see senior government staff, senior Ministry of Finance staff during the debates as if we were uncaring. Or even worse, that I wasn't around to listen to the debates. You know, but it's the low to which some of these debates have sunk that, you know, it doesn't make for positive thinking and positive reasoning. But I hope all you have had the opportunity to listen either live or what you call it, retro, to the debate, the wind-up debate that when I was winding up the debate. I think a lot of people have called and texted and so on, and had some kind words to say. So I guess it's something we should package and send out, really, because the argument is that so many things seem to have been hidden in Guyana, that they seem to be getting it in drips and jabs. So one point I left with journalists is that the press conferences and the press releases, okay, they form part of the arsenal, but I think a good journalist needs to go behind press conferences and press releases and go to the root. And there you will find more than just root when you begin to dig. And a lot of the information is available. You know, it's not, certainly on this government, a lot of information is available. You know, so that will be my charge to the journalists.
Yes. What are some of the words you would like to leave with citizens of Guyana?
Yeah, well, I recognize the citizens of Guyana in my wind-up. I first praise them for staying the course. I mean, they're bombarded with all kinds of negatives and so on, but they've been generally positive, as evidenced by their behavior. They didn't come out rioting, strikes, or any such thing. Even when they were forced to do picketing for parking meter or for education, it was done in a very civilized manner. And many people I meet, essentially, have a kind word to say. I mean, they will criticize, but they do say to me, y'all keep trying. Y'all keep trying, you know, make this place, make us proud and so on. And I think that is what keeps me going, and it's what I try to relate to my staff, you know, that is not for us. It's for all those people out there who depend on us to make their lives better. So I want to say to the citizens, stay with us. You have walked with us so far. Continue working with us. And as sure as night turns to day, you will be entitled to the good life.
Thank you very much, Minister Jordan.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much, citizens, for joining us on Budget in Focus. I'm Stacey Carmichael saying goodbye.